Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, sisters. And today we're going to talk about what is investing. Investing is what is like similar to planting a seed in the soil and watching it grow. It's not going to grow immediately, it's not going to grow tomorrow. It's going to take some time before the shoots start to appear. So, I want to share my own personal experience here. So, when I first started investing, I felt it was slow too. Yes, so I was trying to make quick profits. So, what I did is I bought certain like stocks or investments, and then I sold it after a while when it went up like maybe $100 or $300. The biggest uh, profit I made was $8,000. I didn't wait a short time for that. That was maybe close to a year before I sold it and made $8,000. So I was really excited. Okay, so when I first made my 100, 200, 300, I was excited. So I thought I was in a roll until I realized that investing is long term. It's like your plant is growing and then you keep cutting the leaf and, eating it or taking it, or when it grows a little bit more and they start having flowers or fruits and you start plucking the fruits. Like, it might not be ready yet, and you are already tugging at it, touching it, disturbing it, not allowing it to grow to its fullest potential. So that was my mistake. And right now, I've learned to just, when I buy something, I tell myself what I'm buying it for. And I try to keep to not buying and selling. I want to buy for the long term because I think investing is something that can grow beyond what you know. I'm going to show you more of what investing has in store for you. Really, really, it's, you only see this plant, but you didn't see the tree, and you can't see the tree unless you start planting that seed, watering that soil, putting in your effort to grow it. You're not going to see that tree. But if you do that with faith that it's going to be a tree, your investments are going to grow, then you're going to see it grow. Okay, so let's jump right straight into stock market. What is a stock market? So stock market is like a supermarket. You go there and you buy things like, for example, in Singapore, there are Singapore Airlines. You are familiar with Singapore Airlines, right? The airline company. And Singtel, OCBC Bank, DBS Bank, UOB Bank. Okay, so the one of the best stocks in Singapore are the bank stocks. OCBC, DBS, and UOB, they are the best dividend payers as well. Okay, a lot of investors in Singapore invest in these stocks, but we cannot invest in these stocks because they are riba based, right? They are not halal companies, so we cannot buy these companies. I'm going to share with you some halal companies that you can consider in Singapore, but please do your own due diligence before buying. Okay, whatever that I share with you is not financial advice, and investing involves risk. This is something I must share with you as a disclaimer. Okay, so now you can also buy companies or buy a share. So when you buy for example, if you say I own Singapore Airlines, okay, maybe you own 10 positions in Singapore Airlines, so you are considered a shareholder of Singapore Airlines. Okay, so Singapore Airlines is also not Sharia compliant. I think Singtel is Sharia compliant or halal. Okay, Singtel also pays dividends, so it's a good company to consider. But I'm not sure like whether now is the right time to buy and all that, because when it comes to individual stocks, you have to buy it when it is at a good price. I'm not going to talk about those things because those are more advanced level of investing. So similarly, when you go to the supermarket, you can buy carrots from Australia or you can buy carrots from China, right? So similarly, when you buy companies from the stock market, you can buy from Bursa Malaysia, Stock Exchange of Thailand, Indonesian Stock Exchange, Singapore Exchange. United States has the Nasdaq and the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, and the UK has the London Stock Exchange. So there are many different stock exchanges around the world, and there's also Tadawul, which is the Saudi stock exchange. So UAE has their own as well. So different countries have their own stock exchanges. You can choose to buy from all over the world actually. My focus though is US and the world. So I buy that gives me the diversification that I want and the stability and lowers my risk. Okay, all that is important when you want to invest. Okay, now how to find Sharia compliant stocks. These are some examples of Sharia compliant stocks in Singapore. There's the Keppel Corp, the Comfort Delgro, Netlink Trust. I've also put the ticker symbol in there. Ticker symbol are these little things with letters and numbers. Okay, and what about the US stock market? This is the US stock market. Some of these companies are under the BDS movement, so you can, I talk about it in a lot more details, like how, why. So there are ways to also avoid BDS movement companies that I can talk about in more detail in the future. Okay, because today we're going to talk about investing and why you should start investing. So that is just a teaser on the stock market and the exchanges that you can invest in. So the US stock market is the most popular stock market in the world. And why, you might ask? So it is known, this is one of the index. There are many other indexes. This is one of the index. Index is like a group of companies. So this group of companies consists of 500 top companies in the US. That's why it's called the S&P 500. And over the past 5 years, their growth is about 90%, 91%, which is awesome, right? Because I've showed you my portfolio, I've showed you what the banks pay you, I've showed you a few examples for you to be able to compare what is a good percentage of a growth. And I've showed you one of my students' growth was 6%. So you are aiming for something, and I've also shared with you inflation is around 2 to 3%. So it's important to consider then that to grow your wealth, you need to firstly grow it in a halal way. Secondly, find something that grows to help you beat inflation. It doesn't have to be 50%. It doesn't have to be 30%. Even if it's 10%, it's wonderful. It's good enough. Okay. So now, when you look on the right, this is the S&P funds, SP funds for Sharia industry exclusion. So what they've done is from the S&P 500, they've removed the companies that are not halal, and they've put it in the fund, and you can buy it as a whole. You don't have to pick individual stocks. Why don't pick individual stocks? Because when you do that, for example, I'm going to go back to the previous slide. Okay, for example, I buy one lot in Apple, and and then maybe a few months later, something happens to Apple, and I lose my money. Okay, and there are a lot more volatility when you buy individual stocks. Companies can also go bankrupt and you might lose your money. So a safer way would be buying an ETF or buying into an index. Okay, there are many other considerations, but this is an example, and you can see that it has grown 105% in the past 5 years. So it means each year it grew around 20%. That's wonderful, right? Okay, this is not taking into account like any recession. Okay, so I want to just show you something. This is going to be really eye-opening. Okay, I'm going to show an example. What's going to happen if you are like Aisha? She's 35 years old, she's a working mom, and she has savings of $10,000. And she decided to put it in the stock market. And then she say, with her income of this and expenses of this, she's able to invest $500 every month. Okay, this is what's going to happen after 20 years. When Aisha is 55 years old, inshallah, this is what she's looking at. She's looking at 331,000 ending balance. From what is her contribution? Her contribution is 10,000 at first, right? 10,000 plus 120,000 that's contributed every month, $500 for 20 years. Altogether, her contribution is 130,000, but she's able to grow it passively over 200,000. This is not interest, this is compound growth. So we go back here. Okay, so how do you make money when you invest in the stock market? Is it like gambling? Is it making money out of thin air? Absolutely not. How do you make money when you buy a Singtel share, okay, or a McDonald's share, or a Apple share, or a Nike share? How do you make money? Basically, when these are real companies that you're going to buy in. When you buy a few shares of Nike, for example, and Nike is profitable, it is making money, the stock prices go up. That's how you make money. Another way is this thing called dividends. So companies, not all companies, but a lot of companies share their profits with their shareholders. So when you buy a few positions in Nike, you are a shareholder, you are entitled to dividends that they'll pay you. It's not every month, it's usually maybe 2 to 3 times in a year. Okay? So this is how this will grow. This is how the compounding works. The compounding works because you have put your money into a fund that grows at maybe 8%. I've shown you, right, that this fund can grow up to 20%. But please, this is past historical performance. This is not a guarantee of future performance. Okay? I'm going to show you an example of another sister. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, another sister, her name is Siti. She's 35 years old. She's a working mom turned stay-at-home mom. She has $50,000 in the bank, and she didn't, because she stopped working, she stopped contributing to her bank, right? And at the end of 20 years, she has $100 of interest instead if she invested that amount, she didn't contribute anything, and she just invested this 50,000 in the stock market, she would have ended up with 233,000 instead of 50,000, because she's investing in companies that are growing, that are profitable, that are sharing their profits, that are sharing through dividends. So saving protects your money, but not against inflation, yeah, but investing grows it.